Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I speak, train and write about the use of social media for recruitment. I, of course, am joined by my gorgeous co-host, Audra Knight, who is an employer branding nerd, a recruitment marketing specialist, and whatever other term we give her this week. This week, we're uber excited to have Snapchatting extraordinaire, corporate recruiter Erin Stevens with us, and we are hoping that she's going to dish the dirt as well as she does on Snapchat, but I sense not. Hi, Erin.
Hi. Hello. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You'll probably be slightly tamer than you are on Snapchat.
Occasionally. I'll be definitely as positive and somewhat entertaining as I can be.
Awesome. As long as there's a positive spin. Awesome.
Yes, of course. No, I'll be honest. I'm always an honest recruiter. So
yeah,
Nice.
That's fair.
So Erin, can you take us back and tell us a little bit about how you got into recruitment and how long you've been in the business?
Sure. Gosh. So, well, I'll go all the way back. So in high school, I loved, of course, like singing and theater and stuff. I mean, I look like a theater kid, right? So I started.
I think that's the lipstick.
Singing. Yeah, it could be the lippy, as you call it.
Yeah.
So decided I wanted to go to college for music. And so I went to college, started studying music, but I kind of liked psychology as a backup plan. So I took psych classes because I just love overanalyzing people for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just love finding out like their motivations, and I've gotten really good at reading people and being kind of judgy for a living, obviously. So I decided the second semester of my junior year in college that I didn't want to do singing anymore. It just wasn't fun. So I took like 20 credit hours the first semester of my senior year and finished up my psych degree. So at that point I graduated at the height of the recession, in the United States. Yeah, 2009. But prior to that, I had worked like summers at at like a theme park. And so I lifeguarded. So of course I did recruiting there. I was like, oh, I'll come work here. You know, you'll get a great tan and you get to swim and you make, 50 cents more than what everyone else does on the hour. So I've always kind of done recruiting in a weird way, and recruiting people to be in plays and stuff. So anyways, long story short, graduating at the height of the recession, I had actually sat to take my PHR certification in 2009. And that was the last year that HRCI allowed students without the experience to take the PHR certification. Sat and took that, passed by 2 points. Yeah.
Woohoo! As long as you passed.
Right, amen. As long as I passed. Sat and took the PHR, passed, and then I'd already started on my job hunt. And I started, of course, before I graduated. It took me through some, of course, networking. By networking, I was able to find my first job, and they needed a recruiter. And so I was like, I'll do whatever you want. Just hire me for some sort of HR job. So it was a small nonprofit in Southern Indiana, because I'm from the Louisville, Kentucky area. So in Southern Indiana, worked for them for a couple of years. They had no recruiting process whatsoever. So I basically said, okay,
gotta love that.
Right. They're like, we just kind of get resumes. And I'm like, oh, so you guys,
then we put them in the bin.
Yeah. And I'm like, you guys don't like track this? Or they're like, no. So I was like, oh,
do you even have a spreadsheet?
No spreadsheet.
No.
Like it was like the ice age. So I'm like, okay.
Was it printed off and in a pile?
Yeah, like they just like collected them.
Oh, that cool.
Yeah, and their applications were like the rip off, like they ordered them online and like you ripped off the application, like didn't have the company name on it or anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I get open, I'm like, okay, let's research this. So I open up the book and I'm like, okay, we want to track this. Ooh, we might need to know about, tracking diversity. Okay, great. So me and Excel became like great friends. So I made this Excel spreadsheet. We figured out an applicant tracking process. 2 years later, our competition recruited me. And I remember going out to lunch and like freaking out because I'm such a loyalist. I'm like, I cannot believe that I'm doing this. I feel like I'm cheating on, my employer, which I technically was, I guess, but you get over that. Went to lunch, talked with them, and they recruited me. Again, another nonprofit, retail organization, with multiple locations. Same thing. Aaron, we don't have a recruiting process. Can you make this up for us? And I was like, sure. I'm like, what do you have to work with? They at least had an ATS system.
Nice.
So learned.
But I assume you'd learned a lot from the first time you did it. So therefore, it was much easier.
And I'm that millennial kid, like, I'm getting crap.
That word is banned. Yeah. That word is banned on this show.
Right? I know. Hi, Mike.
You're just slightly younger. You're not allowed to say millennial.
Mike, by the way, don't tell anybody who I work for. Mike Townsend.
How do you know Mike? He's a friend of mine too.
What? Yeah. We are in the same area. We are actually in the same HR networking group. So,
wow.
You don't think anyone could just see that on your LinkedIn profile? I mean, just
they could, but that takes
sources, recruiters on this call.
It takes effort.
It's really tough.
I know. I work for I work for the CIA. So anyways, created a recruiting process for them. I would have been there and probably still if I hadn't had the opportunity to go third party, the dark side. So when, got asked to go third party, and that was an interesting experience. Third party's totally different than in-house. And that's a good place where I learned about culture and how culture in the way I work is important to me. I'm the type of person that I love to have all the tools handed to me and the freedom to do what I want with it and be able to own that process. I love owning the process because I think I make the process better, but I could just be cocky. Essentially just it wasn't a good fit for me. So at that point I was willing to, I remember asking my husband, I'm like, can I just quit my job? Like, will you just allow me to do that? And he was like, I mean, no. He's like, I kind of like our lifestyle and I mean, we need money. So I was like, okay. So luckily at that time, my current company recruited me off LinkedIn and, I made a deal with them. I was like, hey, because they're not in my area. I said, is there any way I could work remotely? They're like, yeah, we might be able to work that out. And I was like, oh my God, this will be awesome.
Yeah.
So excited. So went, interviewed with them. Long story short, been there a little over a year and something. And again, kind of that process model, like they really wanted someone to focus on customer service and serving their people. And, of course, throughout, those 8 to 10 years that I've been in recruiting, I've learned not only things about myself that I need to work on. And I think the main thing for me is, not only because I obviously, you guys know, I'm a pretty strong personality. I mean, if you watch my Snapchat.
Really? I hadn't noticed. Audra, had you noticed? I've not noticed.
Nobody does.
I mean, judging by the stream of people across the top here who've all seen you on Snapchat, I mean, they're all here because of your Snapchat opinion.
Well,
so
good old Snapchat.
Yeah, we might have noticed.
Luckily, that disappears, right, in 24 hours. So I got 24 hours for no one to bust my chops. So yeah, but it's been fun, and I have to learn myself to, moving from nonprofit world where kind of, anything kind of goes to moving to the corporate world. You gotta you almost gotta fake it till you make it. I mean, you gotta be like nice.
Christopher, I thought she was a recluse.
Yeah, totally.
That's Erin, quiet, conservative.
You know what's funny?
If I had a guest like that, that would really suck though, right, Audra? I mean, what would we'd be asking the questions, getting no reply.
Right. But I think I don't know, people would find this surprising, and I'm obviously not a recluse, but I'm actually somewhat introverted. I have to really,
you're an ambivert.
I like going out in social situations, but I have to really prepare for it. Like I have to build myself. Like, for example, I went to last weekend I went to a show at a casino. If you saw my Snapchat, you know what it was. And I had to really build myself up for that. I was going to be with people all night. I mean, so that that Friday night I stayed in, I watched TV. I didn't talk to anybody. And I have people ask me go out, but I can't, I have to really lay out boundaries.
Erin, I'm the same, and Jim's also the same. So we both speak on stages.
Yes.
No problem.
But
don't make me network a room. Don't make me go into an event. Like everyone keeps saying, come out and do this. I'm like, no, I can't be around all that energy. I have to choose the situation and I have to control it. So if I'm going in to see a show, it has to be, I have a seat and I'm in a certain place.
Yes.
I'm exactly the same. But I also go really quiet. And while I've been here, I was with my mate and I went really, really
and it
quiet.
Freaks him
and there was such a show of concern because it was like, no, I'm just coming back down. I'm just drawing in my energy. I'm just like, and it's really funny how many people down the side who've gone, we're the same.
Yes,
but it's called an ambivert. We actually sit in the middle, so we can do extrovert, but it's kind of like a controlled extrovert in a way. So it's not necessarily.
But people are like shocked,
like around thousands.
Like they're shocked when you're like, I'm an ambivert, and they're like, yeah, right, whatever, Erin. And I was like, no, really, like seriously. So
if I don't have that downtime, like it kills me. So the conference last week after the end of it, that was it. I shut down. Just leave me be now. Don't talk to me.
Like when my husband and
I can be with a couple of people, but that's it.
When my husband and I go on vacation, now he's the introvert, quote unquote. Like Brad, like not doesn't talk, but like he's just super solid, like just chills. We go on vacation and it's like
people hang over.
It's like we flip. I'm down on the beach, like reading my book. I'm like, no one talk to me. Just bring me my drink. I'll be fine. Yeah. Brad's like life of the party. He's at the pool. I'm like, who are you?
Interesting.
Yeah. It's very, very interesting.
Oh, Jose. So Jim's written we should start a support group, and Jose's written, hi, I'm Jose and I'm an introvert. I've been an introvert for 30 years. Everyone claps.
Wow. Really?
I would know that.
I love it. But that's
really
that's why Snapchat's such a good thing, though, isn't it? Because it's one to one. Yeah, it's you and the phone, so you don't even need to think about who's beyond the phone. Oh. So it's less. I mean, I still found it intimidating to get going, but once you go,
absolutely,
quite cool. But I wonder why so many of we introverts are drawn to recruitment. Then.
Right, I've noticed that too, but I think it's because.
I noticed Bradley's very quiet down here because I don't think he's.
I think a lot of it is because it's such a. I think you work by yourself and you have to be so into research and kind of analyzing and looking through people and you have to be a good listener because when you chat with people about their background, I mean you're having to really absorb all of that information, and I don't know if extroverts could do that without interrupting someone all the time.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so true.
I mean,
that's very true.
Sitting in quiet and like you having to think about all of that. And then I don't know if introverts are just more process oriented, but I am extremely process oriented that I think everything has a spot and it has to go a certain way. And if and candidates need that for candidate experience too. They need to know what happens next. Who am I going to talk to next? Am I just going to be hanging out here? Because searching for a job can be so stressful, but then, the candidates don't always get it right either, of course, but.
No. So I think there's a tool I think you would quite like that I came across last week at SRC. It's called Traitify. I think it was Traitify. Shit, I hope I've got it right. And I've got a sticker around here somewhere. And it blew me away because they actually, he's going, oh, you're one of these, I reckon. And I went through and did the test. And this thing actually accurately described me because I'm a naturalist and a visionary. And he just went, I've never had one of those. So my balance is to go out and be in the garden and stuff like that. I'm going dark here, sorry.
It's really dark.
I'm like fading into the background. It's like, I'm getting browner by the moment. But yeah, it was Traitify. That I think you'd really love as a tool, Erin, to having a look at for that personality side because that would appeal to
now. Have you ever done the predictive index at all? No. You guys, have you never heard of the predictive index?
I have, but let us know.
So we had this. I mean, we had this conversation. I think last Blab or something. But so the predictive index is essentially measures behavior. And so you have, it looks at aggressiveness versus harmony versus people-oriented versus process-oriented versus whether you're someone that's impatient and likes to get things done or if you're super patient or if you like rules or don't like rules. So for myself, it's very, no, I'm not a high B, Mike. I'm actually a low B. So Mike, Mike knows it. I'm actually a high A, so I'm aggressive. I'm a low B, which means I'm process oriented. I'm a low C, so I like to get stuff done. And then I am a high D, so I like rules. I like kind of boundaries, and I like to know what I'm looking for. So you all should look into it.
Don't most people like to know where they're going? Like, isn't that part of that thing you were talking about with the candidates? Like actually knowing how to pass them on? Because so they know the process.
Well, those with a high D probably do. So they would want to know what the process is. What rules do I need to follow? What is going to better my chances of making it through? Whereas I interview a lot of manager candidates or anything higher than that, or operation candidates. They actually are usually the perfect looking candidate is aggressive, loves people, impatient, and doesn't need rules. They just need to know, okay, what do you want done? I'll go out and do it. And so, and I've gotten so, and not to pat myself on the back, but I've gotten so good now that when I talk to people and I listen to their behavior, I can almost like guess what their PI is going to look like. And it's insane. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, I can't wait for you to like, and it validates like me as a recruiter. But then there are some there are some candidates though, I'll talk to them and that's when they're kind of BSing you because they'll say all this and then their PI comes back totally opposite and you're like, oh, I don't know about that.
So you actually give them the test at your work?
So going through so I'm super big on defined process. So currently if I interview a candidate and I like them or I think they might be a fit, I'll usually send them the predictive index just to kind of verify my results. And then I'll get with my hiring manager and say, here's X, Y, and Z. I think you should talk with them. And of course, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but for me, a recruiter is more of someone who makes recommendations. We can't always, we can't say, listen, you need to interview this person because let's face it, not all managers are they either have that trust with you or they don't.
Does it also take out some of the natural bias? So I like Mike's comment here, do your candidates have to have certain results to be hired? I mean, that's a bit like a natural bias. If you weren't running them through that process, you'd be hiring the people you like almost.
Right. So there can be some managers who are very big on the results of the PI. They won't look at a candidate unless they have a particular set. So if one of their things are off, there's another section of the PI that you can look at. So you have the self and then the self concept. The self concept normally reflects what you're doing in that particular job. So relating it back to me, my natural self is that low B. So I'm process oriented, but when I was working as a third party recruiter, when I took the PI again, my B came back as being super high because I had to be super outgoing and engaging with people in that role, which I hated, which showed a big disconnect because I was so opposite, which is probably why I hated that job.
Yeah, it's different. It's so different on that side. So a couple of questions here for you. Whoa, it's going so fast. From Christy, do you have the managers take as in the hiring managers take the PI as a benchmark of compatibility? Yes. That's a great question.
So the PI has a function called the Pro. The Pro is where you can send, it's almost like the backwards PI for the particular role. So let's say that let's say all of us wanted to come up with the best behaviors of a recruiter. We all would take the opposite of the PI called the Pro, and then we can merge all those behaviors together and get a synthesis. So if we decided we wanted to go out and look for another recruiter, we could look for someone who has a similar PI pattern. And then I know that does the PI take into account for cultural differences? The PI actually has it to where you can send it in multiple languages. So I've talked with people before whose native language is Chinese or Mandarin or Spanish, and you can send it in their native language, which helps.
Yeah, but I think what John's talking about, because John's in the UK, is like culturally. So like across Europe, there's just, you just go right next door to France. I mean, it's just so culturally different. But and like as an Australian living in England, I know it's my God, I offend them all the time because we're so blunt and they're so passive
This
aggressive.
is why we get along, because we're so blunt. That's why we get along so well.
You guys are nowhere near as blunt as I am. Oh my God, I get into trouble with you lot. You guys think you're blunt, you're not blunt. I offend you lot all the time, like all the time. I open my mouth, I'm offending you. It's like, all I did was say, isn't it a lovely day? Yeah, that's too direct. Oh my God. Yeah. And I have to tone it down even more in passive aggressive.
I think in regards to cultural differences, though, it's more of, it's not looking at culture, it's looking at behavior. So whatever your behavior is, and behavior starts from, the beginning. Oh, that's part of the charm, Katrina. It totally is.
But that's because Jim's in the fan club. He's got pom-poms. And he also lets me sleep on his shoulder. I fell asleep on his shoulder in a restaurant. It's quite embarrassing.
Oh, anyway. Mike, I think I would agree with that. Mike's blowing it up today.
Yeah.
Where is he? What's he written? So personality, we need to read them out because people can't necessarily see it. Personality assessment should be measured on how someone will fit into the team. If you have the same results, you have the same person and the culture will eventually die. Yeah. Yes. I think that's what I was also asking as well.
I mean, Thanks, Jim. I mean, I'll tell you a great conversation about the PI and cultural differences. I had a conversation with a manager the other day. Him and I just weren't seeing eye to eye on the process of the way that we should do things. They wanted to go a different way, and I have a hard time changing my process when I don't agree with somebody else's. So, I wanted to. Imagine I know, that. Right? Somebody tells me no. I want to know why. So I looked at his predictive index. I wanted to see what his behaviors were. We were the same person. Like we had the same layup. Oh, there's the kitty. We had the same lineup, and I'm like, this is why we are butting heads. But and his thing was, but I'm looking for these certain set of skills, and I'm like, I understand that, but this doesn't measure skills. I'm like, let's look at you and I. Your background is, sourcing, logistics, supply chain. Those are your skills, and you use your behaviors for those skills. I have a totally different set of skills, but you and I have the same behavior. So it definitely, he was like, oh, that makes complete sense. And I'm like, yeah, there you go.
So it's helped you work together.
Yeah. I mean, and I think to make, if you come across those negative situations where you're just, for me, if I'm just not getting along with someone, or I can't seem to understand their background or why they're acting a particular way, I rely on, what makes us different, what makes us the same. You got to somehow connect with them and figure it out. Because if not.
Oh, there's all sorts of comments going on down here. Sorry, Erin, I just interrupted you. But it's going so fast. It's like everyone's really
I got a question for you, Erin. Can't clever or not so clever candidates just BS the exam and write, like if they can tell what you want and answer?
They can, but normally it's reflected in the results. Like it'll show, it'll just be completely like wonky looking. You're like, what the heck? Like, what are they thinking? Yeah, it's weird. And normally I think I have a good BS meter. Like if someone's BSing me, I mean, I know they're BSing me, but I'm going to keep going anyways because I want to see how far I can take it. Like, what are you going to do?
I need to up the BS meter, seriously. And I think Audra and I want to do the test.
Oh, sure. We can do that.
Send it over.
I will.
Yeah.
Hopefully you won't be biased now that I've told you about it, but it should only, the other part that's great about it should only take you about 5 minutes to complete. Wow. It's quick and easy. Oh yeah. It's super quick, super easy to get done. And that's
where Tradify blew me away though, because it was just images and I was just clicking one or the other, and how accurate it was scary. But nobody would have pegged it because it's stuff I don't share. So people wouldn't have known.
Ooh, what, you have a
I know. I'm in social media, but I do. I have, there's parts of me I don't share. Bless. There are so many questions down here. I'm trying to catch up. Jim had written a whole thing. Where's it gone? Since there is strength in, oh my God, it keeps moving. Since there is, stop it, people. I'm trying to read. Since there is strength and innovation in diversity, wouldn't it be prudent to hire someone every now and then who does not fit culturally? To shake things up a bit and inspire new ways of thinking, just to keep the company from getting into a rut.
I'd have to agree with that. And what's funny, this is probably why, and I tell my group of people I work with, so my company is not, and we know this, is not very culturally diverse. And so they have a lot of the same similar personalities, which is great. They're all very nice. They're hard workers. They get things done. I tell this to all my candidates, and if you don't have those, competencies, it's just not going to work in our organization. That's how strong our culture is. But it also lacks the diversity. And I joke, I'm like, this is why I work from home, because you guys could not handle me day in and day out in the office. I'm too strong of a personality for you. Like, and one of my things is when I go into the office, I have to tone it down. I'm very conservative, but I'm able to still express my opinions and thoughts, now that they've warmed up to me. I mean, it's been a little over a year and a half now, but again, it's all in the delivery. It's how you deliver it. That, positive spin. Ask Mike, because Mike has seen me at my finest, and he can tell you that, my name and conservative really doesn't go together. So
I know it stuns me because I won't work in a corporate, so it stuns me you're working in a corporate. It's like,
it stuns a lot of people. I'm tattooed, and so I know, so I have to I cover everything up, and I took off my jacket for the first time probably a couple of months ago, and our admin was like, "Wow, you have a tattoo." I'm like, yes, I do, and I have another large tattoo as well.
And I might have another one,
but I can't tell you where. Don't make me defend you.
Why isn't Mike defending you? Okay, so what's Josh written here? Years ago, I got hired into a team that was made up mostly of gay men. Oh, geez, I wonder why they hired you, Josh. The firm itself was owned by a gay man. Well, he's rather handsome, right?
It's that fade.
The firm itself was owned by a gay man. One day at lunch, I realized this was part of the culture in a way, and I looked around the table and was like, wait a minute, I stammered. Did you all think I was gay? The table laughed. They told me they weren't exactly sure. I was hoping I was, but liked me enough anyway to come in and make me an offer. Talk about hiring for culture. That's awesome. Actually, I was laughing. So I was on a chat with Katrina Kibben last week, and we were talking about diversity. And I think a big thing, you've talked about how hard it can be, but I think it's still, we need to be hiring for the right person, not because we need to get X, Y, Z up. But the very next thing I saw was "We hire happy people" was a sign on a service station, gas station. So I had to send her a photo. I'm hoping to God she makes a blog post out of it. It's like, why can't they hire miserable people? What's wrong with unhappy people or quiet people or just normal people?
Or just normal people. We hire normal people.
Normal.
And then it goes into, let's define normal. Come on. Normal as in boring or normal for, but Josh, I'm not surprised. I mean, that fade you got, I could see, remember and then, you know what? I bet you for sure, Josh, if you had that V-neck, undershirt, they instead of the wife beater, poor Josh.
Sorry, needed light.
Hey, I know myself.
What did I miss?
Oh, just, Josh figuring, hey, by the way, so how's that V-neck working for you, Josh? Is it doing well? Do you like the V-neck, or did you go back to the... Oh,
God, that whole snap series.
Yeah, or did you go back to the wife beater? Oh, let me catch you up. So Josh has been wearing... Thank God, Josh.
Oh, I know.
He's been wearing
I think I was off most of last week because I was working and I didn't check it.
Oh, this was weeks ago.
He was wearing a wife beater shirt, and I'm just like, Josh, that's a little trailer park. I can't, I don't know, because it's no offense. I mean, it's faded yellow looking. I was like, go with a V-neck under white shirt. He's like, but I'll get hot. I'm like, you'll look way better. Do the V-neck white shirt. I think Jen Davis was even telling him, he's like, V-neck white shirt. And so now he's doing it. Oh, I'm super judgy. Super judgy.
I love Mark though. Even better. The fishnet t-shirt. Oh fuck, I can't undo the visual of that. It's not good. See, and people wonder why Josh is gay. Bradley pulls the V well. Josh, no wonder they hide you.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh my God. Listen to these guys. How have we got them onto that? We're going to talk about, recruit a bitch.
I know.
So, sorry, I'm not allowed to call it that.
Everyone drink.
Unspoken rules of recruitment. So, I mean, obviously the reason people love your snaps so much is that you are really frank about recruitment.
Right. And I think
biggest bugbear.
Well, my thing is, I think candidates don't, It's tough because the job market that we're in currently is so tight. And so it's like we as recruiters have to not only, find the right candidates, but we have to groom them and maybe look past whether or not they gave us a 10-page resume or they, have been applying for, can you guys hear that, by the way, when it dings on my computer?
No,
okay, good.
No.
It's like dinging in my ear. It's my little reminders. If they give us a 10-page resume or they don't necessarily sound that confident on the phone or, they say some silly stuff or they can't seem, I know the talent's there, but you gotta do more as a recruiter to mold them and make them interview better and you got to prep them better. I mean, it's all about prepping your candidate. And so when I go off on Snapchat, it's like, I don't know, I'm a logical person. Like I think very rationally and logically. And so when people do things and I'm like, what? I'm like, this is logic. Like you would think that who wants to read a 10-page resume? Like, but then I think, I put my recruiter hat on and I'm like, okay, this person hasn't worked in a while or they've been in the business for 20 plus years. They think I need to know everything, so when I talk with candidates on the phone, if they do have some sort of little tweak or funky thing that they've done, I'll make a suggestion of, well, why don't next time, instead of talking negatively about X, Y, and Z, just, brush over it. So for example, I had a candidate who left their former employer in a really bad way. Like she was just like, oh, I'm out. And I'm like, okay, let's spin that a little differently. If you end up talking with the hiring manager, just kind of briefly touch on it. Wasn't a good fit. Done, move on. If you really make a big deal out of why you left, they're going to see it as a big deal. So you can't do that. And I'm this, in real life, I'm extremely blunt, obviously through Snapchat. And I hope that people watch that and they're like, they think to themselves, maybe I should change this, or wow, let me look at myself. Am I saying this type of stuff in a job interview, or how does my resume look? And I think it's reflective in the amount of people that I have contact me. You guys, by the way, you guys believe in karma, right? Like good juju, good karma. So for me personally, and I like to bank karma points by redoing my personal friends and family's resumes and giving them coaching advice for free. They'll be like, oh, can you, I'll pay you to do this. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm going to call on you later when I need something. If I do this for you now, I'm just banking the karma points. So, I hope that when I say things on, Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook or, whatever, that people don't see it as being, oh my gosh, she's being so mean. It's no, I'm trying to help you out. Like I'm trying to.
Yeah, it always comes across that way.
Okay, good.
But obviously when you caught my attention was when you were talking about the frustration when you do find a good applicant, but they don't quite fit what your hiring manager, I'm trying not to dump you in this shit.
No, that's fine.
Basically, am I allowed to just be blunt and go, they're being bigoted?
Yes. And I tell them.
How do we reach around that?
Right. So, when I talk with, I hate it when I find someone and I'm like, this guy or girl is perfect. They're going to fit great. That's a struggle. Because you can sit there, again, logic, rationale. You can sit there and you can tell them all the reasons why that they are great. And then, they're going to sit there and they can say no. And that's fine. They can say no because one, sadly, we've lost that candidate. Maybe I can put them somewhere else. Or two, I know in the back of my head, I'm like, karma's going to get you at some point, it'll be okay. Obviously this is what's meant to happen. And as long as I can make sure that candidate has had a great experience and they leave thinking, okay, Erin did the most that she can. It just didn't work out. And of course I got to be that, when you're a recruiter, you're that pad between the candidate and the hiring manager. You have to be that buffer, and we have to be masters of spinning things and selling it, whether it be the company or selling the reason why we're rejecting them.
Yeah. You sound like I did when I was in my in-house role. I always felt like I think it was from the agency experience though. I always felt like I was sitting neutral in the middle.
Yes.
And I was excited for both sides of the party to match them up and make it happen. And I think that's where a lot of in-house recruiters still get it wrong.
Yes.
They've got I'm the corporate recruiter. You're, pander up to me. And it's like, well, it doesn't kind of work like that when you're in a highly sort of short, you're shorter people as well, aren't you, because of location?
Yes. So
right?
A lot of my company's locations are literally in the middle of nowhere. So I have mastered the ability.
I heard that ping.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I have mastered the ability of selling the middle of nowhere. Like it's all about how you sell it. And then it's not just location. You have to, and again, it's like going back to that candidate. Yes, location's not the best thing. You touch on it briefly, move on to something more positive. Moving on, keep the process going, etc.
But do you promote that? Do you use social media to promote why that location would be a better place to be, or do you do anything along those lines?
We're on our way to doing that, yes. So part of our, we are creating some diversity initiatives to get our,
the Jeep.
Oh yeah, beep beep. Love that Jeep, by the way. I wish I would have got it sooner. But we're creating some diversity initiatives to hopefully get our locations that are in rural areas more involved with their community besides just being an employer, and building, and building it up a little more. So
I would just emulate all of what Jose does. Wasn't it yesterday's snaps? I think were a whole series of that, where it was the community.
Yes. And I know Jose works at Lowe's. Lowe's does a great job. I mean, I used to work at the Home Depot in college, and I almost wish I would have worked at Lowe's because they just seem so much cooler. Good old Home Depot. I have some inappropriate names for the Home Depot, but I will keep those.
Why is Josh written it's a manual transmission? It's only kind of.
Oh, shush.
I thought, isn't that stick? Isn't that driving properly? Jesus.
So yes, I ended up getting a automatic transmission. Thanks for calling me out, Josh. Because I did. Because back it up. Okay. So
I'm sorry, but that's just wrong.
Have you ever heard? Okay, so
a Jeep with automatic, an automatic Jeep. That's like a road car.
Hey, but dang it, I look good in that car though. Top down, down, spirit blowing,
flipping on.
Right, I look good.
To be fair, I think Erin is like 5'2".
I'm 5'4". I could barely reach the clutch. So I'm a
really? Oh my god.
So shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a laid back driver. Like I like to lean back, a gangster driver, I guess you would say. And when I did test drive an automatic or a stick shift transmission manual, and I'm like all the way up on the steering wheel, and I'm like barely reaching the clutch, and I'm like, I can't do this.
And imagine if the airbag went off or something. Jesus, you'd probably die.
I was like,
Erin equals straight up thug.
I am a straight up thug.
Oh, I love what John's written here. How do we take back props? That's the high fives.
I love Brad's. We call stick shifts millennial anti-theft devices.
Awesome.
That's BS, Brad. Because
we oldies know how to drive a
I can drive a stick shift.
My first car had a choke. That's how old I am.
I can drive a stick shift. I swear. I just can't do it when I can't reach the clutch. It's too much.
But your son isn't a millennial, Josh. He is a digital native. That's even worse.
Oh, that is not true. It's required in this family.
Will there be a clutch left? Anyway, back to topic. Come on, give us another round. Give us your fate. What is the thing that winds you out the most? If you could just change one thing about the recruitment industry now.
Well, Erin, tell us about that guy that wrote to you and said, I ain't got no resume. What was that? That was awesome.
Can't you just send a tweet?
I did have someone. So I go through every morning, afternoon. I always, look at our incoming resumes. God love this man. Literally so I guess that he uploaded a Word doc that literally said, I ain't got no resume. And I want to be like,
it's amazing.
I was like, I was like, is this real life? Like scrolling over it. And I'm like, that poor guy. Like I wanted to be like, Google a template, write your stuff down. And that's the basics to, you know, starting your resume. Just start writing everything you do. And I tell people this all the time, write everything you've ever done. I can take a whole bunch of stuff and make it into the right thing. If you don't write enough, then it's hard to expand. But the more you write. Yeah,
but you might do that. How few would?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true.
Like, so few.
But that's the part. If you want a job.
Actually, you know what? My top tip on that, I got given by Papa Smurf, I used to call him, Ray Murphy, one of the best managers I've ever had. Not because he was old, just because he was like that kind of a leader. He said, ask, so what? So you write all that stuff down and you've written some bullet point, like Erin loves Excel spreadsheets. So what?
Yeah. Which
means that. So then you get the benefit, because most people don't write the benefit. So you introduced all those processes. So it meant that things were easier. Recruitment was better, blah, blah, blah.
That's really good.
People don't, and that's just, if you think, so what, you always get it. And because it's really hard to write your own resume, CV, whichever person I'm talking to on the call, who knows which one.
CV.
It's tough. It's a CV. But it's tough.
It's very tough.
And they vary by country as well.
They do.
So, you know, the way you write one for here and the way you write one for the UK and the way you write one for Europe is all completely different.
So I had another candidate. We actually hired this individual. She had she submitted her resume and it had her name, date of birth, and social security number on it. And I was like, hey, listen, you know,
let me go check out a credit card.
Yeah, I'm like, I definitely want to talk to you. So we're on the phone and we have the interview, and she's so sweet. And, you know, you could tell this is kind of like her first, what I call big girl job. And I was like, listen, just an FYI, if you send out your resume to anybody else, take off your date of birth and social security number. And I you know what I think as recruiters, I don't think there's enough of us that have, I guess, the gumption to tell people that too, or give them that, you know, feedback. Right. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who just don't do that. And I think that's what puts recruiters, the good recruiters, a step ahead of the rest of them, because you have to give them that feedback. Like they need that, because if they don't, they're going to continue to take off recruiters on down the line with, you know, I ain't got no resume or whatever.
Well, you think about as well how high Indeed falls in the search rankings, and the fact it's constantly saying upload your CV, resume. Sorry, apologies. I know how
it's a culture thing.
And whatever. You guys know what I mean. And they upload it, and that's so easy to search. So they've put on their social security, their date of birth, all that. But when I was growing up, that was a generational thing. My sister sent hers over to me the other day, and I'm like, no. That's all gone now.
So like even across the U.S. globally, you don't need that information, right? Okay, that's what I thought, because
all you put on it is a phone number, an email address, and your name. You don't even need to put your location if you don't want to.
People will put their married.
But you think if it's going into something like Indeed, where it's so, you just don't know who's going to get hold of it.
Yes, I've seen resumes. They come through and they say married. They put how many children they have. They'll put like height and weight. I'm not kidding. And a lot of them are from overseas. So I don't know. Yeah. Oh, my favorite. Do you guys get this a lot? People putting their pictures on resumes.
No.
Yeah, it's European thing.
Is it? Really?
The Europeans, right?
Oh my gosh.
John, back me up here. Is he still here? I'm not sure.
I mean, I've seen that.
Mark, you know it's European. They've gone quiet. I know they're there. I can see them. But it's kind of creepy. But yet we expect it on a LinkedIn profile.
I feel like, what's wrong?
Actually, do you know? Yeah, you know, my favorite thing though is watching the judgment. So when I'm training and I bring up profiles, watching people's faces react. They kind of rule people out based on the photos. So you can't win. So we want them on a LinkedIn profile, but people rule people out, but you don't want them on a CV.
I mean,
I see that.
It's definitely interesting. I've seen it throughout my career. You know, what was it? Oh gosh, I can't go up. I don't know who said it, but somebody said that when they go to job fairs, they tell, you know, those college students, that they need to do like save their resume, first name, last name. I tell people that all the time. Like I'll get like, you know, new resume 2016 doesn't really cut it. You know, put your name and then you can put 2016 or the date.
Oh, yeah.
You know, separate out your name.
Oh, and proper email addresses as well. You get pathetic ones. However, I think Bradley just stops it here. I had a guy once say under hobbies he liked reading erotica, and a woman once put a picture of a wolf on her resume, like a profile picture.
She was hungry like the wolf. She was hungry for a new job. She's like, I'm hangry.
Oh, touche.
She was hungry.
Oh, Jim's written here, attractive women should not include a photo with a job application. She liked your answer. Yeah, does that mean just the ugly ones do that? Maybe that's what we need to sort out or something. I don't know. That's hilarious.
So funny.
Bless.
That is a good song.
It is. Judgment. Yeah. But I guess there's just so much differing information out there. Actually, where's Hannah? Has Hannah gone quiet as well? She's just
Bradley only recruits attractive people. So I'll keep my thoughts to myself.
Yeah.
I had a joke on the inside. So Bradley looks in the mirror daily and he's like, you look good. I think I recruit you. Come on down. Oh wait, I've already recruited myself.
To be fair, his dating snaps are hilarious. So I don't think he should be judging attractive women for recruiting. No? You've seen his dating snaps, right? Okay.
Oh, so speaking of dating and recruiting, anybody else feel like recruiting is just like dating? Like literally, you're the in-between guy. You're trying to find their perfect match. And then you're trying, and it's all that, it's courting back and forth. You just have to court with people.
The matchmaking.
We just deposed him.
Bradley's hitch. Nice. You got to hitch yourself, Bradley. That's how it works. Or get you. You know what's funny? Does anybody else do this? So I have a friend that recently broke up and she's getting back on the dating scene, but she got catfished. You guys know what catfishing is, right? What?
No.
Oh my gosh. You all need to be aware if you ever go back on dating. Brad, I'm sure if you...
I have never gone back on dating.
You know what catfishing is?
Look at that.
Well, catfishing is when someone creates. Brad, have you ever got catfished? They create a fake profile and basically they send you all this stuff and they start a relationship and you're supposed to go.
Oh, you mean online?
Oh yeah.
dating?
And they meet and
I'm
they
never
try
doing that.
What? And they try to meet up with you and then they end up asking you for money. It's called catfishing. So my friend got catfished twice while dating. And so she's telling us about it. I'm like, Christy, just give me your stuff. So I screen all of her people for her. she's like, here's the
Christy's right. Sorry.
I'm like, yes. Yeah, that is marriage.
That's naughty, Christopher. We might pass that on to Mrs. Christopher.
You got software catfish? How do you do that?
Catfish.
Yikes.
Yeah, spill the beans, Jackie.
Software catfish. So
you now, because of your skills in recruitment, you do the the vetting.
So she'll be like, hey, check.
It's good to know our
She sends them
skills
the
are
personality
transferable.
test.
No. She sends me the name and their online profile and stuff. And so of course through sourcing and whatnot, you can look up stuff, the back end and then through LinkedIn and then just Googling in general because she's not the most technologically savvy, but she sent me a guy this morning. She's like, what do you think about this guy? And then she'll tell me their story. And of course I'll read their messages. And of course you can usually tell if they can't spell, and it's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, he seems legit. Go for it. Meet up and let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
So.
In public.
Yeah. Maybe there's a new career there.
Dude, I think, yes. Well, I have two, I've set up two
fun.
marriages, right? Have I never told you guys this?
Oh
I have two marriages under my belt where I basically.
And how long have they been going? Because until they hit the 20-year mark, I wouldn't be
one,
gloating.
they've been married since they got married right after I think I did. So 2010, so 6 years. And then the other, they're getting ready to have their first child.
Oh.
I know. She's such a cute little
You can
thing.
start your own business and be a matchmaker.
I know. That's that or real estate. That's my next job.
I think there's something in the catfish thing. I think there's an opportunity there.
I know. Let me tell you.
Because there are so many fake profiles on there, aren't there?
You can have your own business and pre-screen all of the people that join.
They had a fake developer picture listed on LinkedIn. They said they were from Ukraine, but they were from Israel, and it was the front for two other software recruiting companies. Ooh. creepy. It's so weird. I get nervous. Like, I like being online, and I like being like, my Facebook super locked down. Like, nobody, I mean, you have to be a friend, or I have to sometimes release my Facebook so people can friend me. Twitter, of course, I try to, maintain that as a blend of personal and professional. And then, Instagram, and then Snapchat. I mean, Snapchat, I feel like, you have to add people, and you have your own, names and whatnot. But
is yours private or friends only?
Mine is actually public. My Snapchat is public.
Yeah, mine's public. I kind of can't see why people do friends only.
I know, right? That's the same with Twitter. Why would you lock your tweets? Like, I don't understand that either.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bye, Chris.
But I mean, I agree with you. So my Facebook is quite locked down, but then I'll share stuff publicly on purpose.
Yep.
So I create more of a public persona where I'm seen a certain way. But like I was saying to you, there's stuff out there about me that people don't know. I just think it is a persona. Actually, I think that's half of the problem as well. Not just from a recruitment point of view, but a society point of view.
And,
it's creating a lot of friction and a lot of false thinking about what people are.
And for candidates too.
Don't go, Jim.
Bye, Jim. For candidates too. I mean, candidates Google me all the time, and I'll get like and it's weird because occasionally I'll get freaked out because they'll have seen something I've shared on Twitter or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, so how's this going?" And I'm like, "How'd you know about that?" And they're like, "Oh, I looked it up on whatever," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did talk about."
See, I think that's good. I think it's nice that they care enough to do.
And I think it creates that personal connection with them too, so that they feel more connected with you. Because I think with my generation, the younger generation coming up, it's more about that customer service and that personal connection and the personal feedback as opposed to.
It's no different.
You don't think so? Because I mean, I have I'll talk to.
We wanted it, but the difference was honestly the difference was visibility. That's the only difference. It's not like we didn't want that and we don't want that. So it was more when I started out, and I'm sure Bradley would agree with me. We started out in our careers, there'd be this tiny little advertisement, and you wouldn't know how many people went for that job. And it could be the only job out there. So you'd be scared to leave. So your bosses could be assholes and you'd stay. And there was so much fear. And also having parents of the generation where, my dad went through the depression, believe it or not, because he's that much older than me. So don't leave. There's a fear. Yeah. Whereas now you can see how many jobs are out there. Like there's transparency. You can see into companies and you can see all of that. So people can get up and leave. Now, I'm not saying my generation won't, but they are much more interested in working for companies where they are treated well and they've got opportunity and they can contribute. So that's why I'm always anti it's an age group thing. To me, it's not. It's about now we have visibility. So these kids have a lot more visibility and a lot more opportunity to find out stuff about you if they choose to. But so can we if we know how to.
That's a great observation. Like, I never thought of it that way. God, keep going, rant.
You just needed to talk to an old girl, that's all. But because I'm the most millennial Gen X I know. I just, like you, I work from home. I travel the globe. This is my laptop right here. I'm not sitting at home. It is wherever I'm sitting in an airport.
You get it done, yes. So, you get it done. And I think that's a lot of, for me, it drives me nuts. And my parents are guilty of this. They'll look at me and they'll be like, "Oh, your generation's so lazy." And I'm like, what the hell, man? I'm working, 50, 60 hours a week, and I have 2 other jobs besides just my main one. And you want to call me lazy? Come on. Well, Erin, not you. You can't lump all of us in.
Millennials will only stay in a job for 2 years. So the girl that runs Disrupt HR in London with me, 5 years, 2 years. And she's certainly not leaving her current company. And she's like, "No, what are you talking about?" Actually, there's a really good Disrupt HR talk from New York that I will dig out for you from this girl who blew it apart and said, actually, every generation, including the baby boomers, have all been named as the most disruptive, the most this, the most that. So you can't judge people at age group. I do think, however, these kids that have come through with these in their hands, sorry about that, just flash my messages, everyone. The constant swiping and there is a difference for them. Actually,
dude, I have to do that with my husband. I'm like, get off the phone. Hello.
But aren't you on the phone all the time with the Snapchat?
I am, but not with him. So I mean, I try, like, even when we go to dinner, it drives me nuts. I'm like, put your phone away. And then if he goes to the bathroom, then I'll, pull the phone out and I try to put it away. Yeah. With him, though, it's like, he's like, I'm like, stop looking at the front page of the internet, whatever I forget what the name of that website is. Stop looking at, your websites. Sorry, Bernie Sanders is out. You can't cry. You can't keep, oh my God, we went to dinner one night, not to be overly political, but it was the one of the primaries, and I'm trying to have a nice dinner with Brad. We're at our favorite place, and his mood just like changes, and I'm like, what? Because he's on his phone, and he's like, Bernie just lost the primary. I'm like, put the phone away. I'm like, you're worse than like a 12-year-old. Come on, buddy. But yeah, so that I agree.
I've been having that, and it's and my generation is bad. I've got a certain friend that he'll sit up and talk to me, and he's certainly not millennial. And then the second I go to talk, his head's in his phone, and I just stop talking because I'm just so tired of it. It's like we rarely see each other. I'm sitting here in front of you. Look up.
Erin, what are your 2 other jobs you mentioned, or is that a secret?
No, that's not a secret. That can be fine.
She's got 4 minutes.
My 2 other jobs.
That's the fastest
I know,
hour
right?
ever.
We should do this again. So I haven't done it in like a year or 2. I was an adjunct instructor for a small community college. I taught, cause I have my master's in HR. So evidently they think if you have a master's, you can teach something. I taught an HR management class, and then I'm also a jazzercise instructor. So I teach, that's why I was up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m.
Oh, you were teaching.
I taught a 5 a.m. class. Yeah. So I teach 6 times a week.
Whoa.
You think I'd be a lot skinnier, but I like food and like to drink, so that's my problem. But yeah, I love jazzercise. It's 80% food. Oh, it is. Exercise fit. It really is. Yeah. I'm trying. I've slimmed down a lot. I used to be pretty hefty, like, you know, super like shove chocolate cake in my face hefty. I still shove the chocolate cake in my face, just not as much as I used to. But yeah, I've lost. So I lost like 45 or 50 pounds, and then I've gained about 15 to 20 back, but a lot of it's muscle. So muscle. Good for you. I always think to take measure. Yeah, and it's not about being skinny. It's about being fit. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty fit. I just am not, you know, I'm not a Barbie doll. Thank God. But I couldn't do a jazzercise. Yes, you could. Well, on that note, oh no, seriously, I'd be in the back going. Yeah, I told Brad. No. See, I'm one of those slim and not fit, as opposed to. I told Bradley, I was like, you're gonna have to come jazzercise. Yeah, Jackie. Woo! See, I got a jazzercise girl in here. It looks fun, but didn't he got dragged to Pilates the other morning? That was even more funny. Right, so we are out of time. Unbelievably, that went so fast. I'm not sure we bitched very much, but there was some good tips. We got some good stuff in there. Thank you. We have double trouble next week, don't we? Pete Radloff and Derek It's gonna be fun. Ooh, super exciting. God knows what we're talking about. I imagine all these tech. Oh yeah, we gotta figure it out. God knows. We haven't got that far. So that's next week at the same time. So we're back on track. I think we had a little holiday there, unfortunately. Erin, thank you so much. How can people find you? What's your Snapchat handle or It's the same as my Twitter. Everything's at Erin M. Stevens. Erin M. Yep. So follow me. It's funny. I wonder what the Michelle M is, if it's the same as my M. What's your M? I'm not telling. Okay. I always go M for middle name. I just won't tell people. Manager. Yeah. Go Mark. Love it. Right, on that note, we shall see you all next week. Awesome. Thanks, Erin. Bye, Erin. Bye. Thanks. Bye.